Hello there. Welcome to Paranormal Experienced with Kat Hobson. I am so glad that you're here tonight. I am, um, you know, I'm a coastal person. I am so wanting to let the people in Louisiana know that we are so sorry that you're having to deal with another storm. And I hope that it doesn't do tremendous damage. It's just something that's such low lying area all through there. And I know that it's coming into Mississippi. I don't know if it's going to make it across Mobile Bay, but anybody that's in line of this storm, I know it's a two, they still spawn, you know, other storms. So everybody, if you could just keep that region in your prayers, thoughts and prayers, that would be so fantastic. I'm a big believer in prayers. So that's what I'm going to do. But whatever works for you is great for me. And I am really excited about tonight's show because my guest is someone I enjoy tremendously. We kind of have the same warped, fun sense of humor. I think mine's fun. Not everybody does, but I do think Victoria's does. And Victoria Mundae is one of the people I enjoy talking to. If I lived close to her, we'd never get anything done. She is one of the most busy and prolific authors I know. She covers a broad range of um, paranormal items. She has written for children. She has written Dear Dad, Letters to Father, a journal of healing, Special Tales for My Grandchild, which is something that is on my list for Christmas. I'm looking forward to doing that. And she is actually dabbling her feet under a pen name. And we're going to discuss that too, because you know what? If she writes it, I'm reading it. She's a good author. And one of the things that I live by, okay, this is hers. It's a modern day cyber grimoire. And trust me when I say everybody needs this desk and laptop bag because I travel. So, without further ado, and we're going to talk about more of the things that she does, Victoria Mundae.
Hello. Hello,
Hello.
Witches. You're right. If we were so close, we would be at the beach every day.
We would, because you know what? That's what I like.
I
And
used to live at the beach. So, yeah, literally,
yeah,
I lived at the beach.
yeah. Well, I'm trying to, but my husband doesn't want to retire. So, and we have
Oh,
grandchildren here, and it's a pretty good drive. Oh, hello, Dana Stricker. So
Dana.
it
Dana's
is.
one of my favorite people.
I think she's pretty fun too. So
She's,
I enjoy her posts and stuff. We don't know each other personally, but
well, that's how we met. I used to steal her memes, and then we met at Lone Star Paracon earlier this year. I'm like, I steal your memes. She's like, I steal
well,
your memes. So,
well, I have. Oh, hello, Stuart. Hey, Lori. But we have Mars Hill, Maine. Thanks for being here. We have we have a lot in common. If we could, possibly be the same person. It's so funny because we like just about everything. We're interested in so many different things. You are still away, she says. And I have to tell you that I have discovered Instagram, and I am I'm hooked. I am so hooked. When I am outside with the dogs in the mornings and in the afternoons, people have to know when I'm there because I'm just like, oh yes, share, 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 share. And one of my other friends said, "Girl, your feed, seriously, you're addicted."
it's it's a good addiction. Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
there
there's
are
bad
worse.
things you could do. Yeah, there's bad
There are
things you could do,
worse.
but this is, it's as long as you're sharing the good things, you
Only,
know, um, I'm
only
not
good.
getting political or anything, but there were so many funny cat memes today about cats leaving Springfield.
Yes.
They're just like, what the
Well,
heck,
I've got to tell you, I watched that debate too, and I'm sitting there, and everybody was acting so shocked about eating animals. Well,
Mhm.
I just rescued a dog from a rescue in North Alabama. And when I was talking to the lady that, I mean, these people are dedicated animal rescue people. You know, my dog
Huh.
came from under a trailer. He had been
Oh,
wounded. He was in terrible shape. Now he has a home and he just ate all of my husband's nachos after, because David did not pick them up high. And this is a big dog. So it was really interesting because she calls me to check on him because she is a good rescuer, right? And she
hmm,
wants to make sure that it's still a good fit and stuff. And she was like, I'm so upset. I said, why are you upset? She said, the dogs that I've been checking on, because she goes around the neighborhood and checks, their little town and stuff. Well,
hmm.
the dogs are disappearing. The
Oh
animals
no.
are disappearing. And they have you know, there's no reason for it because
Right.
the Humane Society is non-existent there.
Hmm.
So somebody is taking those dogs and other
Well,
animals. And
if
if you're
if
hungry,
it were
you
me,
want
I would just be taking them in.
well, yeah,
Maybe there's
but
somebody.
that's why she's there is because people don't. And she's very upset and very worried. And I thought, that would have been a great opportunity to have a conversation about people who are desperate, right? Because you would
Right.
have to be desperate. And
Mm.
if you're just trying to survive, then that was the only thing that I thought should not have been left off. You
Right.
know, it wasn't the only thing. There was a lot that shouldn't have been left off. But that actually was something that I thought because I had just had that conversation, right?
Oh
And
wow. Right.
I'm not a political person. I don't discuss politics on my show. I don't discuss politics on my, social media,
Hmm.
and which is hard because I was a political science major, right? I love
Oh.
politics, but I don't talk about them.
Right.
And
Right.
because either way, I'm going to insult a friend somewhere along the line, and I'm not going to do that. I love my friends,
Right.
and I don't care if they think the same as I do or if they don't think the same as I do. That's not my
Hmm.
business.
Right.
So, but I was just like, that's so weird that actually came up in conversation. Hi, Tom McNicholas. So I was just so blown away because I didn't think that would be a thing anywhere else. I thought it was just in that little community, maybe, but
Well, I
maybe
hope
it's
it's not
not.
true.
Well,
Andrea
I
Perrin
hope
told
not.
me a
Yeah.
long time ago that cats and dogs were brought here, and they're extraterrestrial species, and they were brought here to teach us how to love unconditionally. So I'm choosing to think that they have succeeded in their mission, and they're going back to wherever they come from.
Well, that's my choice of thought too. But it's one thing they teach us that love is pretty valuable too.
Yeah,
So
because I drove up to Michigan Paracon, and from Texas to Canada is 3 days in the
yes,
car. And so I was gone almost a week and a half. And when I got back, his lordship he was kind of pissed.
imagine.
He's like a grumpy old man just walking around. And I was probably just another pair of legs. I'm like, Toby, I'm home. Toby. I'm like, oh,
Mm.
whatever. So I was sitting on my bed and I'd been home like 2 hours. And he looked up and he went, Mama, Mama. And he goes running and
Oh
he
my
jumps on the
gosh.
bed. It's like, okay, when did you learn to speak English?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He practiced while you were gone. He was doing an
He's,
online course.
he was probably saying a few choice words.
Yeah, well,
But,
that's
and
the
so,
beginning of a lot.
yeah, so we were inseparable for a week and then I left again. But he's gotten over it. So he's back. Okay,
Well,
Tom, I told you that story. I tried to. Oh. I was going with a person who I thought was my friend. I later found out this person was no friend. And we had planned a path and we were going to stop by and see Tom. And she changed it without telling me. And we were like 2 states over before I realized what was going on. So I'm sorry, Tom. You'll have to come to Texas.
I'm sorry that happened. I hate when,
Yes.
that's always so disappointing.
Yeah, and we had
Yeah.
planned a route. We had planned stops. We were going to do this, and this, and see this, and talk to this person, and go here. And then she decided to go another way. So, but next time.
Well, I'd say time was worth,
I would.
a stop.
But I did get to meet Nick Moulet. Nick and I spent a lot
Did
of
you
time
really?
together.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I love Nick Muley. He
He
is one of
is
my
so,
very favorite people.
he has the best speaking voice. It's just even sitting at my table talking to me, it was very loud and booming, and like, shh, oh, keep it down,
Well,
down.
as long as it was all complimentary, baby, you don't hush him.
Well, we were talking about the Galveston storm of 1900 or whatever,
Oh, wow.
So it was
He's
just
so
so fun to.
interesting.
He is in the jacket. It's the jacket.
I love the
Women
jacket.
were stopping him everywhere. And so he was like posing with people. It's the jacket. It really is. It's a magic jacket. So,
Well,
big
magic
magnet.
jacket, magic guy. It's all good.
Yeah, he's wonderful. But sorry, Tom.
Well, what was your favorite takeaway from the Michigan Paracon?
I got there Wednesday afternoon, and I think the speakers had already started because I was seeing on Facebook, people were doing the getting there like Tuesday and Monday night, and everybody's just hanging out in the bar and stuff. Getting back, in touch with each other. And when I got there, they called it a pregame party. So I got there for that, and there was just so much. You could just feel the love and the connection there. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, how you? I haven't seen you." And they were just people who hadn't seen each other in a year or so, and they were just so happy to see each other. And that was like, you could feel that when you walked in the door. Casino is always like, yeah, casino, all right, baby. But there was just so much love in there, and everybody was happy to see everybody. And the first person I saw was Dave Schrader, and I was like, "Can I get a picture with you?" And he's like zipped over and got a picture with me. And I said, "I've been a fan." He goes, "No, you have been a friend." Yes. And I was like, "Oh my God, you are so sweet." Yeah.
He is a very nice man.
Mm-hmm.
He really is a very nice man, and he's kind of funny, maybe a little bit. I think he's funny. I like him.
He's snarky, which I like.
Snarky is good.
It was a fun snarky. Yeah. Nothing bad. He was very fun.
People are always so shocked that I can be a snark, and I'm just like, everybody has their moments. Don't be judging.
Yeah. So. As long as you use it in humor,
sure.
Not to be mean or anything, but
I'm just not. I can't be mean. I can be mean, but if I'm being mean, there is something major league happening. So I try to be not that person. Tom and Nicholas is talking about Mansfield, and I actually love Mansfield Reformatory. My friend Lori Dorsey, who was in chat for several years, had her birthday party there. And
fun.
Her birthday party was always the night before the Paracon there. So there were no chairs when we got to Solitaire. But that is one of the most active places to investigate I've ever been, and it's consistent.
Oh, so it's going to sound weird, but I just left jail Sunday. I was at a Paracon, and it was held in a jail. It sucked my energy out of me. I've been like so tired and so sleepy, and it's very active. I didn't know anything about it. Of course. Okay. All right. Sure. Count me in.
Ohio and May works for me too.
Sure. Everyone has to come to Texas in March then. So, because we're having a Paracon here.
Where is it?
It's in Schertz. The Clean Brothers put it on. It's just kind of southeast of San Antonio.
Okay.
Somewhere. I'm geographically challenged. It's over there, heading towards the Gulf.
Okay.
Yeah,
towards the Gulf, I'm probably in anyway. So, but Texas,
to the Gulf.
If you're driving from Alabama, that is a terrible drive. It's not. Going north can be boring too, but at least it changes. But if you're going west on I-20, it's just like, oh my God, I'm never going to get there. It's a long ride.
I live west of no, I don't. Where do I live? I live west of Fort Worth. Okay. And to get from where I live out of Texas, like to Arkansas, it was 8 hours. It was like, are we ever going to get out of Texas?
Well, it's a big old place.
Yeah. It was, but we did go by and we saw Cowboy Jesus. So that was always fun. And we found the Texas Eiffel Tower, which is up in Paris. So there's
Well, of
a
course
very
it is.
famous.
Paris, Texas. I have
Yeah.
friends that live in Paris, Texas.
Oh, well, we were there.
Fun.
So yeah, we stopped at the Eiffel Tower, and then Cowboy Jesus is in a cemetery, and it's this beautiful, beautiful sculpture at someone's grave. And it's Jesus, and he's carrying the cross, I believe. But if you go around to the backside, his robe is kicked up, and he's wearing ropers, and so you can see his cowboy boots. it's like
I love.
only in Texas.
Well,
You know,
yeah,
but
ropers
it
are
was
probably my favorite boots, and then again, Wrangler butts. So
yeah.
it's all good.
Well, Jesus had a robe on, so we didn't look
get
there.
that. Yeah, well, okay.
But,
Probably
I mean,
missed out.
you'd have to actually. Well, I don't want to say be local, but you have to be in the know to walk around and look and say, "Oh, he's got cowboy boots on."
I love that.
So that was a lot of fun.
What town is that in?
That's in Paris.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a huge buffalo that's buried in that same cemetery. It was a lady's pet buffalo. So it's a family plot. So it's got she and her husband. I think they had a kid or two. And then the buffalo. And there's a huge buffalo statue there. So
That's kind of fun.
Texas.
Well, it is Texas. But I mean, if you go into the New Orleans cemeteries, there's weird stuff there. Cemeteries are weird anyway, because depending on, if you've lost a child, you're going to do like the most monstrous, beautiful monument.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I find most of the time, is that it's usually something like that. But then if you go into some of the cemeteries in New Orleans, they've got great big, like for the but like the Elks, like the lodge people.
Oh yeah, the Masons.
Well,
stuff.
they have like this great big thing, great big mausoleum, I guess, where you can slide in the drawer or whatever. But
like
they've got the great big. That's what it looks like. But it's got the great big, like the Hartford stag from the insurance commercials, kind of a thing on top. And I mean, that's just the one that was the biggest that caught my eye. But also, you can be evicted from your grave in New Orleans too. So there's a flip side to
really?
that. You can, yeah. You'll be shaken out and moved over to the paupers section, and then they will sell your because it's real estate. Your grave is your real estate. It's actual real estate.
Wow.
And if you don't pay taxes on it, then you are out and in the pauper grave.
How do you pay taxes if you're dead?
Well, your family has to maintain that.
Okay.
And they have to maintain your plot or whatever.
Wow, that's I understand that.
It's harsh.
Well,
New Orleans is tough.
Just so little room. I mean, it's such an interesting city. I've only been there once, and I would not suggest going there with a toddler because there were so many places I couldn't go in. They're like, she's under 21. It's like she's under 2. She can't go anywhere. It's like, so I stood on the sidewalk, watched everyone have fun.
Well, I was there with a family that had I think she was 3 or 4. But we were in the Margaritaville getting a burger after doing a Baton Death March through the quarter because they wanted to see stuff and do Bourbon Street and whatever. And we were there, and the little girl, the waiter came over and says, "Well, what can I get you to drink?" And she was like, "I'll have a burger and a beer." It was like, oh my God. She is so fun and funny. And now, of course, she's an old woman, so because I'm even older. And these are not my earbuds. I had to borrow my husband's because one of mine went out. So I am pulling them everywhere, and I'm not very good with them.
Mine are too. I can't hear on the side.
Well, see, that's what I was dealing with. I'm going to wiggle around with these for a moment.
Okay, we can do interpretive dance.
So, woo,
yeah,
because they screw in or something, and they're Bose and they're like real fancy. Mine are not, but I really didn't want to have to go with the over the head ones because I knock those off or knock into things. Yeah. So, oh look, there's a clip. Nope. Yep, there is. There's a clip
Oh,
attached. Of course, now I
there
have
you go.
things. But,
Can't even see it.
oh, yeah, well, it wouldn't matter because, see, it's black and white and it's going to show up anyway. But, I wanted to talk about these activity books that you have been putting out. I mean, you've got what, 6?
6. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know if you'd gotten more out since the last time I looked, but these are fun.
Oh, thank you.
I mean,
It's a funny story. My life is a funny story. Once you get through the sad and tragedy, there's always humor in there somewhere. But my husband died in 2011. So this was like a long time ago. And my daughter was getting older. And I was like, I don't want to be a crazy old cat lady. I'm going to try this online dating thing. So I came across somehow, I don't even remember where we connected, but there was a very nice gentleman. He was a vice president of a company. He was a lawyer. He was involved in some organization that stopped child trafficking and everything. He was just really, really smart guy, And it's like, wow, I really, really like him. I like smart people. And
they're a
he
lot
asked
more
me
fun.
eventually, oh yeah, you could, the little snarky jokes, the double entendre and the, wordplay. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
So finally, weeks go on. He goes, well, what do you like to do for fun? And I realize that when you start telling people, oh, well, I do paranormal things, they're like, well, okay, it was nice to meet you. So he asked me and I was like, I like movies, pizza with pineapple. He's like, what do you really like? I'm like, oh, just the normal stuff. I really don't, nothing unusual. And he's like, come on, tell me, what do you really like? I'm like, oh my God, I go to haunted brothels and I talk to dead people. And he goes, what? It's like, I'm just like your typical Southern girl. I go to brothels and talk to dead people. And he's like, okay. And I was getting ready to hang up,
Right.
But he was still there. So he's like, well, what happens? And so I started telling him a couple of little stories. Nothing's ever scary to me. Even the scariest thing that has ever happened to me, I just took a deep breath, planted my feet, and then, you move forward. So, and then my daughter got her driver's license. So anyway, but so I told him a couple of things. And I was like, well, nothing is scary. What should I do? Right. And he kept saying, you need to write a book about these. These are amazing. I'm like, what am I going to do? Write a book and call it Victoria Mundae's Paranormal Activities and make it a coloring book? I was like, hey, it's not a bad idea. So I did. So I have a whole different kinds. I have just the basic one for your paranormal investigator. So it's got puzzles and games and crosswords and things you can color and word searches, and everything relates to something paranormal, because you know how it is when you're on an investigation. Sometimes things stop, and you're sitting there waiting. So I might as well just break out the crossword and do that. So that was kind of fun. So I was getting really close to Halloween. I said, oh, I want to make some for kids. So I'm thinking, children are small. So I made the books small. But when I got my author copy to look, they were just too small. And you're like, well, where's the puzzle? Oh my God, how am I going to do this? And so I was freaking out. My daughter goes, Mom, she's always the reasonable one. Just take all the drawings from book 2 and 3, the 2 kids' books, make them the normal size, put a few more in there, call it a deluxe edition.
There you go.
That's brilliant. So, so then now there's the large size one for kids. And then
so she has her mom's marketing skills. I like that.
Well, I think I owe it all to Zelda and her deluxe edition books of Zelda, the limited edition Zelda, and so I said, okay, well, that was fun. Now what am I going to do? I'm like, well, and about that time is when we were interviewing Johnny Enoch a lot on Edge of the Rabbit Hole. I'm like, oh, let's do something esoteric. What's esoteric? And I'm like, okay, there's numbers, sacred geometry, pyramid secrets. And so that's that book. And then my witchy friends were like, well, what about us? And I'm like, well, okay, so why not? So I did a witchy book, and it has like a do-it-yourself grimoire, pages you can color that tell about plant magic, herb magic, candle magic, moon cycles, what this flower means, what this herb means. And then it's got like a place in the back for manifestations. I think that is it for the series. Yes. And then I just kept going on. Yeah.
Well, that really is. And you all shucks and him and haw a lot sometimes, but you really and truly are so creative in your thought processes, and this isn't your day-to-day job, although you are so prolific in the work that you put out, but you're always coming up with a new idea that is going to bring this information to somebody that maybe didn't realize that they had an interest, but this caught their eye.
Mhm.
And you're really, really good at that.
Oh, thank you. Well, that was one of my things I wanted to do was to, and I can't bring the paranormal mainstream, so don't think it's me, but just put it out there. It's like my friend and I were at a Renaissance festival, and we rented a refurbished Airstream trailer. So it was like only one person could stand up at a time, So she
Yeah.
was sitting on the futon, and I had literally 10 layers of clothes on, and it was still 100, even though it was October. It was hot, so
Yeah.
So I said, "Well, you sit there. I'm going to stand in front of the fan. I'm going to start taking my clothes off." It was like a very boring striptease. It was like 10 layers.
A
so
very
I
long strip tee, so maybe it wasn't that boring. So
it was like, well, leather, coat, and it was like, oh my God. So I finally got down to 5 layers of clothing or so. My feet were really hot. I was like, okay, I'm good. It's almost like you had to do a cartwheel in there because it was so tight. I'm like, well, I'm going to bend over. I'm going to unlace my boots because, I'm authentic. I have lace up boots that go up the side.
of course you do.
Unlace my boots. Well, that's what I do.
Yeah, it is.
So I unlace my boot, and as I'm bending over sideways, and I'm making sure I'm not sticking my derriere in her face, So something pokes me in the butt, and I stand up real quick. And I'm looking around. I was like, "Did you just poke me?" And she said, "No. Why would I do that?" I'm like, "You just poked me in the butt." And she was sitting on this futon, and there was an Afghan behind her. And right when I said that, it looked like somebody put a finger inside the Afghan and raised it up because it had the little point, like a finger was raising it up, and it flipped her over her shoulder. And so we just looked at each other and like, well, that just happened. So I don't find it scary or anything. But that's what I wanted to do, was to get these books out there to show people, well, it's not scary. It's not, some bloody head bouncing down the stairs with an axe or anything.
I've never had anything like that happen.
Not
once.
No, one time I was in the jail with a couple of friends, and the jail cells, I don't know how they are everywhere else, but in Texas, the jailer and his family lived on the first floor.
Yeah.
And the jail cells were up. Okay. So we were going to go up to the second floor to the cell. And, it's that mother reaction, I could just see this dark shadow coming down the stairs, and it got really big. And I just, threw my arms out like that. I'm like, y'all stay there. Like, what is it? I'm like, don't you see that? And we just stood our ground, and it went away. And then we went upstairs. So, but that's like the scariest thing I've ever seen. But we didn't run because I knew that would be bad.
Well, I think that they do that. If it's really something bad, you can't run.
Mhm.
And if it's something that's just yanking your chain and wanting to get a reaction, then you're feeding it.
Yeah.
And if you just kind of stand your ground, they're just kind of like, oh, okay. Can't mess with them too much. So we'll just see what happens.
Well, that happened to me this weekend when I was in a Parapalooza in Palestine. I still have trouble walking. So a very nice, kind friend said, well, I'll bring your books upstairs. And they put me in cell block C. I was on the 3rd floor. So I had to get up to the 3rd floor. So I'm hobbling up. And as I'm hobbling up, there's a lot of hubbub activity. People are getting ready before it starts. And I was telling my friend, like, oh, there's a little boy here. And she's like, what? I was like, oh, there's a little boy. He's running up and down the stairs. I can see him. Third eye thing. Oops. Earthquake. Okay. And she's like, well, what's he doing? And I was like, well, I don't know. He's just running up and down the stairs. So we finally get all set up, and I have a little chair I'm sitting in and stuff. And somebody comes in. So I stand up to show them my wares, all the stuff I have. And as soon as I stood up, it felt like somebody just punched me in the back of my knee, and my knee gave out, and I went crashing down. And unfortunately, somebody grabbed me before I hit the floor. Well, I didn't know it till later when I got home that evening, or got back to the Airbnb, when I pulled up my pants. I'm like, man, my knee hurts. It was super swollen. And I was showing my friends, like, I have a bruise on my knee. And she's, no, you have a handprint on your knee. And there's a little handprint that looked like a little 5-year-old kid.
Goodness.
It's like, I have a little bruise. So I was texting my friend who was helping me with the books later because he was doing the investigation. I said, "You're not going to believe this. I have a handprint on my hand, or a handprint on my knee." And he's like, "Well, that's funny because I was coming down the stairs. Something hit me in the back of my knee. He went falling. He went headfirst into the wall. He goes, 'Don't worry, I'm okay.'" He goes, "It was my left knee." I'm like, "It was my left knee." So it made me wonder, is there a little boy running around up and down the stairs, or was it like a jailer with his little sticky thing and, hitting inmates in the back of the knee?
So,
Like, yeah. And today, enough of the swelling has gone down. But now I have this like big Easter egg, goose egg, whatever you want to call it, on the back of my knee. I was like, "Oh, okay." So I was punched in the back of the knee, I think. But
yeah.
I don't know. You just can't be afraid.
Well, you can't. Tom says you had a flirting ghost. So they do flirt sometimes.
They do. Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's something that I had an experience with one, and I was just kind of like, you can't do that. You don't have permission to do that. That's not your space, and which is actually very ridiculous to say to somebody that you can't see and you can't smack their hand or whatever, but it was inappropriate. And I just said, you can't do that. I'm married. I'm a mom and a grandma, and no, you can't do that. I don't appreciate that at all. I think it's very rude. And
I've had that same experience. Yeah.
Did yours stop?
Yeah, oddly enough, I was in another brothel. But at first I could smell. No. That's all we have here. We shoot 'em up some brothels. That's all we have. But I could smell like an area of whiskey and then an area that smelled like body odor. It was really gross.
Yeah.
Don't want to be around that. And then it felt like there was two people, one on each side of me, and they were pressing closer. And then I could feel something touching inside my inner thigh. And first of all, I was shocked. I was like, "What? This really happens?" And then I had to snap out of it, and I stomped my foot, and I said, "Can't do that,"
Yeah.
And then another guy came out. It's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, what does it smell?" I was like, "I've been telling you." People need to listen.
It's not me.
Yeah, but then it was funny because I was at the top of the landing, and then there were little rooms all the way around, and then you could hear somebody on the other side of the house go, "Oh, what is that smell?" And then it was like it was traveling from room to room.
Yeah, because it was checking everything out.
Yeah, I was like, "I told you there was something up here. Just don't touch me."
Yeah. That's just so bizarre because I don't get to go to that many places because, I have one of the iconic places here, but they don't allow you to investigate anymore. So when I go down to South Alabama, there's a lot more that I have fun doing. And actually I have a lot of fun here too, but it's limited on where you can get in to investigate. So I just think that when I get a chance to do a private or go to an event where I just got back recently from Gettysburg, and there was all kinds of stuff there, and I just love that. That's a great event. The Battlefield Bash is a great event, and it raises a lot of money for things that matter. But it's really one of those things that if you walk out the door, or even really you don't have to walk out the door, but there's going to be all kinds of stuff around you. And the very first time I ever drove into Gettysburg, I thought I was seeing reenactors, and they weren't. So, and I don't normally see that much, but they were in a tree line and they were doing stuff. I thought, well, look at there. When it dawned on me, I was just turned around and went back.
You're seeing the past. Yeah.
Yes.
I've had something like that happen before, and I still don't know. I don't know which way it was, because I was going out to Austin and I stopped. I only take the back roads. I don't get on the freeway. And there was this field, and there was Union and Confederate soldiers fighting. And I'm like, "Oh, cool. I didn't know they had like Civil War days here." And they were really fighting.
Yeah.
cannons going off, and I looked around. None of the other cars were looking at them. I'm like, how are these people not looking at this? Because this is, solid. Like I could go out there and join the fight. I was like, well, am I seeing it or am I seeing it? Which one
Right.
is it?
Yeah.
But nobody else was looking.
Well,
That
it's
was
really cool, but I mean, I would rather see what I saw and what you saw than I was at Fort Morgan, which is down in Gulf Shores, and it's an old Civil War fort. And I was just walking around because it was a nice day, it was cool.
Mhm.
And so I went to the fort, and I'm just walking around by the batteries where they store ammunition and stuff. And a Panzer tank came out of the woods.
Oh my
And I'm
gosh.
like, oh, I hope he sees me, because it's coming at me. And so I'm trying to get out of the way. And yeah, that was like a World War II
Mhm.
reenacting thing. And I thought, I did not know that they did this. I would expect Civil War stuff, but
Yeah.
actually, with with German U-boats and stuff, that was in play through there. And I didn't realize that they had such activity there. I
It's
do.
amazing.
I know now.
Mhm.
I will not be scared if I see a tank come at me again. Well, maybe a
Just
little.
step over,
That was more alarming than the ghosts that I've run into there. So ghosts don't
I
scare me, but that did.
no, I find the joy in the paranormal now. I mean, a lot of people are like, it's like, no,
Yeah,
you don't understand. This is fun.
it is
Yeah.
fun.
Mhm.
And I
So,
don't have your skills. And so to me, well, I do have some, but
yes, you do. Yes,
they're
you do.
not developed. I haven't developed them like yours. And it's because I have active rules. I don't want to see death states. To
Mhm.
I don't want to be awkward if there's a child around me.
Right.
Just I have rules. And mostly they pay attention to those.
Mhm.
If you just I have boundaries. These are them. And I had to do that in my house. So it was it's interesting to me. But what's in my house is, I think, familial. So
Yes.
it's not something that I'm really that scared of. The first time I saw it in here, it was disconcerting because I was
Yeah.
actually doing this, but downstairs in my downstairs office, and a yoga ball popped right up off of the foosball table and started rolling around on the flat concrete floor. And I had seen it rocking
Mhm.
before it went off. And I was on the phone with just a brilliant psychic named Andrew Brewer. And I'm like, uh huh, uh huh. Yeah, really. Well, that's fascinating. And I kept, you know, oh look, and it jumped, and I'm like, he was like, it's a grandmother. I was like,
Oh,
well, yeah, I'm pretty sure of that, but we have rules in this house,
right.
And after that, I was added to it, nothing while I'm on the air. So, and they pretty much, they humor me because I know I don't control them. But I'm
Right.
just like, you can't do that. You just can't do that.
Yeah.
So,
I've done the same with my dad because he showed up a couple of times and like we had a very strained relationship and then he passed. And I'm like, okay, I'm not ready. You have to go
right.
outside.
Yeah.
So I see
Well,
him outside. My camera in the garage picks him up all the time. I was like, oh look, there
really?
goes daddy. Yeah. There was one day, it was early because it was about 20 hours this went on. It was just like an orb flying from, and I don't do the orb thing, flying from my car, my headlight back to my trunk, back and forth. And I'm like, what the heck is that out there? And I go out there expecting to find, cricket or something.
Mhm.
Turn the lights on, nothing's out there. I come back and, looking on my phone, there it is again. It goes back and forth. And this goes on for hours. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, well, it's got to be a light shining through a crack in the garage door or something. So I open the garage door, look around, close the garage door. I come back and there it is, back and forth, back and forth. And I was like, okay. So then I go out there and I start to make some noise. Okay, I'm gonna open the door now. open the door and close the door, come back in. So I'm playing it back, and it's hovering around where my headlight is, and it goes whoosh across to where I have a bookcase in the garage.
Yeah.
And it kind of hides there for a little bit, and about 2-3 minutes later, after the door is closed, it comes back out. And then I don't know, I'm sure it's pixelation somehow, or pareidolia or something, but you could see like a shift up against the garage door where it looked like a figure was walking around. I mean, this went on daylight and sunset, and it was still going on. I'm like, okay, there are no bugs out there, because I went out there I don't know how many times, So I'm thinking, well, what's more of a dad thing to do than to check the car,
Right.
Let me check the engine. Let me go check the tire. Let me go check the engine. Let me go check the tire. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm good. Go on.
I've got this, but thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, take the trash out or something for me, will you?
Something helpful.
It was interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, were you still kind of estranged when he passed?
Yes, it was mainly due to the evil stepmother. So, she put a wedge between us. So I think this is his way of making up, or at least trying to make up,
Yeah.
the wedge.
Because I have not read Dear Dad, Letters to Father.
It's a blank book. So you fill it out like anything you wanted to tell your dad.
Oh, well, then I've got to get that. Well, I mean, because my dad started having TIAs, and we wouldn't talk very much, but when we would talk, we'd talk for hours. If one of us was driving somewhere, or because he lived in Nashville and drove to Birmingham, because this was home, but he worked in Nashville, so he bought a place up there, and he would stay there during the week and come home, because my stepmother worked and still does. And she's actually pretty cool. We got very close through my father's end of life, but she was, I think, surprised that we were still so close. And when he was passing, I was very fortunate to get to be there. And like I stayed pretty much at their house. David took care of the dogs, and I would come home and shower and do stuff and then go back. But I was there when he passed. And my friend, who was his caretaker, nursing him, came and got me, and she was like, "Your dad just died, but he can still hear you. Get in there. I'm going to go get Marilyn." And so he was still there. And that was so interesting. And he shows up here when after that I got hurt and had to be, immobile pretty much for 3 months, completely non-weight bearing. And so I was high too, because pain.
Yeah.
And so my stepdaughter was here taking care of me with my grandsons here. He was here all the time. And somebody that I was interested in hosting is a medium. And so, I said, well, if you'll just call me so we can talk about what you do, and I'll have a feel for this. And she's like, well, do you want a reading? I said, well, not really. But I mean, unless you want to do one, but I just want to get to know you so that I'll have a feel for you. Well, so she called, and she's like, oh, well, do you want to know who's around you? And I'm like, well, sure. So, she was like, oh, you have a lot of dogs. Well, yeah. So, but past dogs. And so it was interesting, but my dad was here and said that, that he would communicate more if I would just ask him to, because I was like, well, if you're here, why am I not knowing that you're here? Why are you not? And he's like, you don't ask.
Yeah. I think it takes a while for us to get to that.
Well, I'm just kind of like, well, I love you, so I'm not going to run screaming from the building. I don't mind seeing you. And so that helped a lot.
Yeah. It's hard. We were interviewing Jim Hunt and on Edge of the Rabbit Hole. Yeah. And so we were doing our pre-system, checks and logins, or whatever you want to call it. This is when I lived down in the Woodlands with my daughter, and my dad had just been gone for a couple of weeks. And he comes on the camera and he goes, "Oh my God, there's a man behind you." I'm looking in the camera. I'm like, "No, I'm home alone. I have a couple cats here." And he's like, "No, there's a man on the sofa. He's sitting behind you." I was like, "Really?" And so I find a picture of my dad and I show him. It's like, is this the guy? And he goes, "Oh, that's him." I was like, "Well, okay." He just died. So, yeah, doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But all you can do is just say, "Hey, Dad." And that's what I do. I mean, except for when they rolled that ball around, it was so distracting. So, and I
Yeah.
was trying so hard to be a hard ass and not, be a geek. I was a
I don't know.
geek.
No, you weren't. Never.
Yeah, I was. Because I
Well,
was just dumbfounded, you know.
yeah, the first time something happens, like the first time, well, there's no nice way to say it. First time I got felt up in a brothel by a ghost, you're kind of in shock. You're like, that really happens,
Yeah.
and then you're like, no. So now I
Yeah.
believe people when they say that. But,
Well, I've never been like felt up in a private area, but I have had my butt pinched. And that's very odd. Hello, Linda. But it is so very strange when you turn around and there's no one there.
ghosts
And
like the booties.
they do. But this was not
Mhm.
in like a haunted area, not a haunted
Yeah.
place. And I was just kind of like, well, hello. What the hell are you doing? You don't even know me. So, but usually I find that they do, and they're just messing with you.
Yeah. But yeah, nothing's other than that one big shadow that one time. I don't want to say it scared me. It more was of a shock and took me back just for a second, and then it was like, just go on.
Yeah.
But yeah, paranormal's fun.
Do you get this everywhere you go?
More often than I want. Yeah,
Yeah.
when we drove into Palestine, I got there about 4:30 on a Friday, and everywhere I see things out of the corners of my eyes, and it's an old town, very small population. Most of the downtown is like 2 or 3 blocks, and it's old buildings, and it's all shut down and stuff. And they're slowly rebuilding it. But I kept seeing people like sitting in the corner or standing over there, and when I turned around, they weren't there. I was like, oh, this is an active town. So they were everywhere. Yeah.
That's fun. I mean, I
Sometimes.
think that's fun.
Yeah.
I oh, and Linda in chat is sharing a good bit, and she says she started asking the questions when she gets touched. What's the message? The last time it turned into a fall down the stairs and a broken ankle. She was poked on the left leg some weeks before.
Oh,
That's
wow.
awful. Do you feel like they meant to do that, Linda?
That's kind of like getting sucker punched in the leg, Why else would I
Exactly.
see that little kid other than
Well, you would
he's like his little,
expect that from a little kid, perhaps.
yeah.
But,
It's like right
that's,
in the,
yeah. Well, and the fact that he did it to she says she doesn't know if that was
huh.
intentional to knock her down the stairs. But I don't ever know quite what to think about stuff like that, because the last time I was with anybody that had something happen, it was a scratch. It was a sloss. And it was a child that had gone with me. And, his dad told him what I did, and his kids wanted to come ghost hunting. So I'm just like, well, let's go here. There's always something here.
Yeah.
And I've never had a negative experience at sloss. And as we walked out, we got outside the structure and the kid got scratched.
Wow.
And I was just like, and, my doctor, right, he looks and says, oh, yes, that is abraded. He got scratched. That doesn't happen here. So it was really a very odd thing. And I didn't know what to think about that because it's so rare.
Huh. I've been very fortunate. I've never been scratched. I mean, I've been touched.
Yeah.
I get thumped on the head a lot. I don't know if they find humor in that.
Is it like just a rap, or do you just get thumped?
a lot of the times it's like a thumb, you know, like well, I don't want to say we had abusive parents, but you know, back in the 60s, you know, they would like thump you on the head when you're acting up. Stop it. You know. But
Well,
one
back in the
time I was
60s, that wasn't considered abuse too. So
no, it was just stop it, kid.
Yeah.
You know, it was enough to get your attention. But one time I was leading a ghost tour through Old Town Spring, and we were going in. The only building we could go into was it used to be a kitchen, and then they made it into an ice house. And then when people died, they would put people on the ice. So it was very haunted. So I was going into the building, and something just hit me upside the head, and it felt like I got hit by a 2x4 or something. And I doubled over, you know, because it was really dark, you know, and I said a few choice words, I'm sure. You know, and then I stood up, I'm like, oh my God. And so I got my phone out and I was looking for the board because I thought, you know, it had to be a board hanging down or something. And the man behind me goes, it's a good thing you stopped because you almost walked into that spider web. And there was this huge spider web across the door with a black widow in it. So that would have been worse than a ghost.
Yeah.
So
would have been worse than a knock on the head too.
It probably would have taken out the whole tour or something. But there was a shadow person that used to follow me around when I would get the ghost tour. So I think it was probably him going, hey, stop.
Yeah.
Would you stop?
That did stop you, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So gotta be careful.
You know, you have had so many interesting experiences. I just, you know, I love when people who are experiencers, psychics, mediums, authors. I mean, you're really kind of the full package. And you know, with doing the Edge of the Rabbit Hole too, you had access to so many people and stuff like that. I mean, I've always felt so fortunate to be able to get to talk to people that I find fascinating. And you know, case in point. But we're so lucky to be able to do what we love. And, you know, your books and, like I said, your creativity it's just really cool.
Oh, thank you.
We were talking about, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, at the Michigan Paracon, for some reason, I was in the VIP room. So I was like the Oreo creamy filling between Amy Bruni and whoever the guy is that she's with, for Kindred Spirit.
Adam.
Adam and Amy.
Yeah.
Adam and Amy are on one side, and Erin Sager was on the other. She's our Alice. Who's Alice?
I'm thinking
in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Okay. But everybody who was somebody or famous or on TV were in this little room with me. And every time they walk by, I'm like, I interviewed you once. And they're like, you did? I'm like, hi. So I got to actually
interviewed you. Yes. Remember me. Yeah.
Here's my business card. You know, I'm like, oh yeah, you're the blonde girl. I remember you.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of that. But it's funny you mentioned that the experiences, because one of my friends from high school I've kept in touch with over the 5 or 6 years that we've been out of high school, because we're so young. But anyway, he's writing a book, and it's called Normal Paranormal. That's what it is. And he goes, can you give me a couple of ghost stories? And I'll include them, because he's asking everybody he knows, to contribute a ghost story. I'm like, okay. So when I finished, I realized I was on number 30. I'm like, is that enough? Do you need more? He's like, oh my God, you just did half the book. So he's going to make me a co-author. Hopefully it's coming out next month, hopefully.
Fun.
But it's just little lighthearted stories like that, like getting poked in the butt when I was trying to take my boot off. And, it's really nothing scary.
Well,
I don't think so.
I hear all of these histories, right? And I've been in some really notorious places, and I've never, knock wood, I've never had a hideous experience. I've had some disconcerting ones, but I've never had something that would make me say, I'm done with this. I'm not exposing myself to this anymore. Right. And it's, I don't see a reason to go seeking that either. I don't, I would not, Um, I would not go to the Conjuring House. I would not go to, oh, really? I wouldn't go to a place with that reputation.
Yeah.
I have been to some places that were sketch, but didn't have anything that I didn't feel like there was anything there that I should be so worried about. So I just haven't, I found, excuse me, I have a throat thing,
Oh no.
and apparently it's about to kick my butt.
Oh
But
no.
I find it interesting when people are, my apologies.
Oh no worries. I see a dog. You have a puppy behind you. Aw.
Wally, are you worried about me? I'm sorry for all our listeners. I can't open the cough drop.
Well, I can chit chat while you do that if you want.
Yes.
Okay. The thing I saw the crawl going through, and it said something about Morgan Echoes. So that's another name I'm writing under. It's something for the ladies. It's a paranormal romance, sort of involves Bigfoot. It's a trilogy. So in order to find it, you have to go to on Amazon, but you have to look under. There it is. Look under Kindle, and you can find it. And the series starts off. It's called the Adventures of Lucy Harrington, and then it just keeps going on from there. So it's a 3-book series. Go check it out. It's what they call steamy romance. Oh, I can't hear you now.
Yeah. I just said how steamy.
Oh, boom, chicka bow wow. Stay away from chapter 21. So,
well, I'm going to have to be checking out that.
They're not. Well, I love the people in Minnesota. This is the first time I ever really have gotten that far out of Texas. And we were sitting in a restaurant, and I was just listening to them. Oh yeah, you betcha. Oh, I'm like, what are they saying? What is it? English? What words are they saying?
Swedish.
So, I don't know what it was. They looked at me like they were going to throw me out of the state when I said I didn't want cheese curds. I was like, I don't want cheese, anything. No. But I would tell the people that would come up to my table as well, this is paranormal romance. And like, oh, I don't read that. I was like, well, this is a spicy romance. I'm like, well, I don't know what that is. I'm like, well, it's Bigfoot romance. And they're like, what? It's like, it's for the ladies. It's a little steamy. Well, I don't understand what that means. It's paranormal. It's Bigfoot erotica. And they're like, what?
It's sex.
It's Bigfoot. It's Bigfoot porn. Go look. Look, Bigfoot porn. It's not really, but a lot of men went down there.
What sells a book, right?
But they're humorous stories. They're romance stories. They go on these nerdy. I like to see nuggets of nerdom all sprinkled throughout. Talking about quantum nerdom. Physics. I live for the nerdom. It's got quantum physics and time travel and crystals and elders and this and time traveling this and Bigfoot that. And
did you say Elvis?
Elders. But Elvis is a good idea.
Well, I mean, everybody else makes money off him. Why not you?
Yeah, this one lady came up to me and she goes, do you write lesbian Bigfoot erotica? I was like, well, no, I never even thought about that, but here's my email. Send me a few ideas.
Well, I've never seen a female Bigfoot.
That's because they're always home cooking. Oh, I didn't say that. Oh.
You're so going to get letters. But actually, we have role reversal in our house, and David is usually who cooks because, self-defense. So.
Well, no, I think they're out there having the adventures. Bigfoot's just walking around the woods.
Yeah.
So.
Well, somebody's got to, bring home the bacon instead of just hiking.
Right. Let me see how many trees I can break. Yeah.
Well, that's actually interesting because where I live and where you live too, we have the Native history, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I will sit there like through the backyards. I spend a lot of time in my backyard. And it's so funny because there's so many bent trees, and which was native road maps, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And so they would just bow the limbs and tie them up. And I love Carl, but red light district in the woods. So, it's not that much to be surprised if you know, there wasn't stuff around. I
Mhm.
know that there's a lot of people making a good living as Bigfoot um guides and whatnot here.
Yeah.
And it's I just don't know what I think about that. I don't this I'm not a out in the woods person. My idea of camping is, when they don't have turn down service at the Holiday Inn kind of a thing. But
Right.
yeah, right. I don't
That's
like
me.
discomfort. I like to,
No, I've lived through those lives already. I've done that.
yeah, been there, rock that.
Hmm. No,
But
that's funny. Yeah, coming
what
back
made
from
you?
Michigan. Oh, I'm sorry. We could see. I think we were still in Michigan. I don't know what state we were in actually. But there would just be like trees, 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 and then there'd be like a huge area where they were all bent and broke over, like something had bent all the trees. So I don't know if that was some deforestation thing or there was a Bigfoot out there. Or
Well,
yeah.
were there still trees?
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Oh, we were in the
probably wasn't.
Hiawatha National Forest. And it was just pine trees everywhere, huge, huge spruce trees. And then there'd be a whole area where they're just like bent over and broke. And then they
Probably
weren't.
not deforestation.
Yeah.
So,
Who knows?
well, just you could call and ask.
Yeah,
So,
I could.
well, I was just up in Cherokee in the Cherokee National Park,
Mhm.
and I did not get to do I like to go up there, and I'm researching the um, the lights that people see up there, and I did not get to do my project work while I was there this time because there were scary people that pulled in behind me where I
Mhm.
was, and fortunately I had parked pointing out, so I was
Smart.
not. Well, when you're by yourself, you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to think of
you do
things.
that too.
Mhm.
And so it was it was a little bit of hiking time too because there were a lot of people where I went in on the big hiking path. But it was, you look down through the woods and there's all kinds of signs.
Mhm.
I mean, and the bark and stuff, those are deer or bear. But
Right.
it's just it's so much fun to look for stuff like that. Yeah.
I was having a great time. Oh, look, stop. Let me take a picture.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
But
we'll find another.
I know,
But
right?
a friend of mine did a documentary. I don't think it's been quite a year. It's on Tubi. It's called Bigfoot Expedition Oregon, where he is actually following a Bigfoot researcher out there. I'm like, okay, the ghosty things, they don't hurt you, but Bigfoot, he
Bigfoot
could
can
pick you
hurt
up.
you
He could pick you up and throw you or something. I'm like, what are
or
you,
split you like a
why?
chicken leg, chicken wing.
And
Yeah.
he's like, oh no, it's exciting. I'm like, okay, I'll support
I
you, but
don't have something that is going to hurt me. Hello, Denise
yep.
Bridemore. But, it is just something that I'm not really fussed about. You know,
Mhm.
I have, in fact, when you said Oregon, there's a woman that was one of the original Bigfooters, and she won awards as, female Bigfoot person of the year, whatever. And she was part of the Olympic Project, which is a big thing out there. And she was out there by herself all the time. Her
Mm-mm.
husband fixed her a thing on top of her truck so that she can get to sleep in that's off the ground, and she
Yeah.
can get back like into the truck through it and stuff. Probably a
Oh,
sunroof or
nice.
something. I don't know. Smart husband. But
Yeah.
I would not be out there in those Pacific forests and be by myself. I mean,
No.
you do
No.
have the
Even
beast of
though
prey road. That's the thing too.
in the book Lucy does go out there, but she goes out there because she knows that's how she's going to meet Harry Baxter, her true love.
Well, did she start out with just a Bigfoot fetish, or did she meet one that was nice? Or
She was, excuse me, hiking in the woods, and she sees some movement, and she's like, "Excuse me, sir," and he has his back to her. "Excuse me, sir." He, shuffles around and ignores her, and she's like, "Are you a Bigfoot?" And he goes, "My name is Harry."
of course it
And
is.
so, yeah, so it just goes on from there, where they have this wonderful conversation. And yeah, he has a magical red flannel shirt that appears every now and then. And sometimes he has a tool belt that just shows up whenever he needs tools, just magically appears. Yeah, because it's fantasy.
Well, we have Linda who is going to have to duck out for dinner.
Oh,
And so I appreciate her being here. She was saying that she will be back and shared the show. And I
oh, that's so
appreciate
sweet.
that. That is so sweet. And just so you know, I do Sunday night shows too, Fate Magazine Radio. So it's a little bit different genre sometimes, but not much. I love anything, weird and fun. I myself am weird and fun. So, I just find, see, this is what I'm talking with your creativity. You just come up with some of the most fun things, and you build on that.
Well, actually, I get a lot of help from my friends because I, for some reason, am still in contact with my high school friends. I don't know. They were a really cool creative group. And so I was sharing this with one of the guys, and he's like, "What's next? Minotaur erotica?" I'm like, what?
Minotaurs could be sexy.
I was like, "You like the Greek stories, Minotaur?" And it's like, well, then someone else suggested, "We'll do something more seasonal, like Santa Claus erotica." I'm like, no.
Well, Mrs. Claus might be upset, and then you would get no Christmas. So,
Well, I was thinking, well, if I did that, it would bring a whole new meaning to ho, ho, ho. It was just,
I like it.
so
See, I love how your mind works.
it's a little warped.
Oh, hello, Philippa. Thank you for being here from New Zealand. We're glad to have you.
So cool.
That is so cool.
Always wanted to go to New Zealand.
Me too. Rick, my friend Rick McCollum filmed out there.
So,
was it Australia or New Zealand? I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, he did Australia. I think he did New Zealand too. That's supposed to be just absolutely beautiful.
I'm afraid if I went, I would never come back. I'd have to bring his lordship along, and just be out there with my cat. So,
well, I've got to tell you that it happens because I've been to Scotland twice now, and I'm just like, I could live there. So, Ryan Sprague. You know Ryan Sprague?
I know
the UFO
I've
guy.
never met. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but they moved because they lived in New York, then they moved to Maui, and they moved to Edinburgh in Scotland. And I'm like, that's quite a difference from Maui.
I think I could be at home there. Yeah.
So
that would be fun.
Yeah, but I've decided that sitting still. I'm getting too old to just sit still. I want to see things. So before I have to do it, out of body.
Well, you can get there so much faster that way,
Well, that is true. No 8-hour flights. So red eyes are not that much fun.
Yeah. No, 3 days in the car was long enough for me. I don't think I want to travel.
Did you drive by yourself?
No, we switched off. I took a travel companion who wasn't really a companion, I guess. I learned on the way she was not a companion. Yeah. But that was good because it was also a full moon that week, and the lesson of the week in astrology was to, it's okay to let go of things that do not serve your best interests. And
Oh,
this
there you
person
go.
obviously did not have my best interests at heart. So I waited till I got home to release that.
I'm
So
sorry that you learned that, because I mean, I'm
that's
not
okay.
sorry you learned that. I'm sorry that that was there for you to learn, because it's so I usually read people really well, and you do too.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I get so frustrated because people will, I don't know how they manage to shield and pull the wool over my eyes, because I'm really very good at reading.
Yeah.
And how, how do you think that that happens? Because
Um,
you're great at
I don't
that.
know. Well, we've been friends for like 10 years, and I always knew there was a part of this person's personality that, and my mom was that way too, who could never be happy for anyone. You know, it was always, my suffering is so much more than yours. It was that kind of
Yeah.
personality, and it showed its true colors on a car trip for 3 days. So I'm like, okay. So, but on the flip side, because by the third day, when we got to the casino, finally, I couldn't walk at all. So I was in a wheelchair, and she left me. I was like, okay. So then the
What?
casino security guards, well, yeah, don't want to get into that. But the casino security guards started pushing me around. They're like, Mama, where do you want to go now? I'm like, well, I want to go over there. So they would push me over there. They were super sweet, super nice. And that's why I was saying that there was so much love at that Paracon. I mean, they didn't know who
Yeah.
I was. I was just some crazy blonde girl with an accent who, couldn't push a wheelchair. So, but
Well,
yeah.
and that's at least now you know.
Everything's for a reason. So
Yeah. Wasn't the best time to learn that one, maybe. So,
well,
but things work the way they're supposed to. And
most definitely.
well, what was your favorite part of that Paracon?
The free Diet Cokes were really nice.
Really,
They
I
had free
love that.
soda.
I would have liked that.
There have been so many people, I've interviewed when we start Edge of the Rabbit Hole almost 4 years ago. And they were like all in this room. Oh,
Truth.
yep. But I finally got to meet them. Like John Zappis was there and all the ghost hunter guys. And then I finally met Mike Ricksecker. So
Had
I've
y'all not
never met
met?
him.
Oh my
I've never
goodness.
met him. He's actually my cousin, and I've never met him. And we've been doing this like 3 or 4 years now.
How
So
cool
finally
that y'all
got to meet
got
him.
to.
Yeah, I just saw him walking along. He was just walking down the aisle or down the road. I was like, so he's about this big. He's like a little Polly Pocket doll. I said, you look much bigger on TV. Sorry.
Well, he
So
looks long and lean, right?
he is. We're the same height,
Yeah.
but he's very thin, super sweet, and just the nicest person. And I just met all these people, and it's like, I know you, I know you, I know you. And I'm like, oh
That's
yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
That when I first started covering events, I think I started with Scarefest. And to me, that was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually came away from that with a lifelong friendship with my friend Rick McCollum, who is the
Nice.
founder of, with Kane Hodder, the founder of Hollywood Ghost Hunters, and just a really great person. And he's a person of honor, and he's a gentleman, and he's funny, and just wicked, wicked good at ghost hunting. So that is where I fell in love with Scotland, through his love of Scotland. And it's really fun how we build these friendships through the paranormal. Even people that, like with you, we interview people without knowing them, or we
Mm-hmm.
work with them without getting to meet them. And then when you get to, it's just like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. I'm so glad to actually be able to give you a hug.
Yes. Yeah.
This should have happened years ago, but yay, it's here now.
Yeah. The
And
awkwardness is gone. So,
well,
but
yeah.
for the most part. But I recently joined a group called Soul Circle Paranormal, And a lot of those people that are in Soul Circle, like Shane Pittman and Aaron Sanger and other people I can't think of, Horn Paranormal were in there. They were all in the same room, and they're like, "Oh, it's you." So
Yeah.
they finally got to. Well, while I met them, they finally got to meet me. Like Aaron was at the table next to me, and I don't want to say he was standoffish, but he was very professional. He was getting his table ready, and I
Right.
didn't want to bother him. So he had his own things going on. And I introduced myself, and he's like, "Okay, nice to meet you, thank you." And then some other people would come up and start talking to me, and I would start telling them stories about what happened in the Jefferson Hotel or things when I did something or another. And then I noticed Aaron started scooting over a little bit closer and closer each time. So maybe he was working on that end of the table. I don't know. Or maybe he was like, "What is she saying?" But by the end of the Paracon, he was just so sweet and so nice. And I told him,
Thank you.
we're going to have to watch out for this one. I've heard
I
stories
know,
about
right?
him.
He's pretty astounding.
Nick has a lot of stories, and I heard them all.
You're funny.
It's just so nice to finally meet everyone. That I feel like
I
I've
met
known
Shane
for.
Pittman for the first time at Gettysburg. I'd never met him before.
He is just the nicest guy. I went up to
was.
him because he's starting Beacon, his streaming service. And I said, "My degree's in television and film production." He goes, "Can you edit?" I'm like, "Yes, then I'm free." His eyes got real big. I'll help you if you need help. Just let me know. So
Well, and see, that's one of the things about what we do. If there's something that somebody needs, or the networking that is out there amongst the people, and it doesn't matter what they do. I think the paranormal community is a very strong group of people. And every so often you'll run into an ego, but it's not generally something that lasts. There are a couple of people that I would not include in that. But as a rule, those people are the exception. As a rule, the paranormal community is very supportive of each other.
They are.
And I've been impressed with that ever since I started doing this. I've done this show for over 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And I know, right? But it just, it blows my mind, right? But over time, I got to interview Jim Mars before he passed. He was a big UFO person. And he reached out to me after I did, because I covered the first 2 alien cons. And after the first one, he reached out to me and said, "I'd really like to come on with you." And I'm like, "Well, I'd like for you to." Yes, please. But people want to help, and people, they want to get out there, and they want to support you as much as you want to support them. And, because quite honestly, whether they're great big television people or, just like me, a lowly podcaster, right? Everybody has something that they want to do, or they're in the middle of doing something. And it's really fun when you can help somebody promote themselves. You're helping them grow, and you're being a friend,
Yeah.
And yes, I did start as just a voice until recently. So
yes,
I love
it's nice
doing
to see you.
Thank you. Ditto.
Yeah.
But I found that I really do like doing the face-to-face more because, well, I didn't mind either one. I can do either one. It doesn't faze me at all. But I like putting a face to who I'm talking to. And I like that, I feel like it just adds a different flavor.
It goes a little bit deeper, I think, because you can see the reactions. And, that's why I hate texting people, because you don't know what intonation I'm using.
Yes.
So
you can be so misconstrued that way.
Yeah. Call me and you'll find out for sure.
Because I don't have, if you can hear my voice, then you can probably pretty much see my face, because
That's very true.
I do not have good camouflage. So, and my resting face isn't all that nice. So says my husband. I'm just kind of like, I'm always smiling. How do I not have a good face when I'm, I don't think I'm
no.
It's like,
Everyone
well,
knows you and everyone loves you. Everyone's like, oh, Kat, I was on her show a month ago. I love her. Oh, Kat, she's fantastic.
well, I
So
love
yeah.
you. Thank you.
Oh, love
But
you.
I just learned how to do that too. So,
Oh,
well, wait a minute. There we go. No, I'm not very good at it. I
I can do
suck at it.
that. Yeah.
I could do that. Oh,
Yeah.
what a big hand. Look at that. But hi, Joanna from Albuquerque. It's nice to see you. Thank you for
What
being here.
what did that sign mean? That's what I want to know. I have a money cross in my
Oh,
hand,
this
but it's yet to cross. Oh yeah. We learned this from Batman,
Yep. Yep.
So back in the olden days.
Back in the olden days. I used to be very upset if I didn't get home in time for Batman on Sunday nights, just so you know. That he was my favorite person. But I want to talk more about you because I have here,
Uh-oh.
okay. Well, I told you about my whiteboard, and I have to
Mhm.
say thank you to Michael and Rosalind Lewis for the whiteboard suggestion because I have my action items on one side, but I have my show notes written great big on a whiteboard now so that I don't lose them because I can't tell you how many notebooks I have too. So 10 years of notes from interviews doing 2 shows. There's a lot of notes.
You should
But
write a book.
thank you, I am.
Oh,
So
good.
it's I started and then I had 3 going at one time and I was getting overwhelmed.
Mhm.
And I almost called you. I said, "How do you do this? Do you have a formula? I need
I,
formulaic writing."
I don't
And
sleep.
oh,
I don't have a TV. I live alone. Well, his lordship and I don't sleep.
yeah.
So that's it. Yeah.
Well, I've gotten to where I just completely go out. And it's really funny because when I was in Scotland, we were walking anywhere from 3 to 10 miles a day.
Oh,
And yeah, I could hike the Alps now, not really, but oxygen would be an issue. But I really got into all of this stuff. It was so much fun. And I would be talking to my roommate. We were staying at St. Andrews University in their dorms, which, oh my God, it was so awesome. But
oh,
I just
nice.
put my feet up and said, well, I'm resting. And before I finished saying I'm resting, I was out.
Oh,
And
nice.
when I woke up, she was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." She's like, "I've never seen anybody fall asleep that fast." I said, "Well, that's because I don't sleep long. So,
Hmm.
get it where you can." But
That's right.
but I want to talk to you about your special tales for my grandchild.
That's another blank book. My daughter had one when I gave to my mother-in-law, one to my mother, and then I gave the grandfather one to my dad. And none of them filled them out. And I was like, I want to know, what was your life like?
Mhm.
So that's what that kind of book is. It's just like a fill out, oh, I grew up in wherever and I went to a one-room schoolhouse or something like that. But it's basically a book that prompts.
Okay, so I was going to ask if it's prompted writing.
Yeah, because I would have loved to have known about my mother-in-law, other than she was Mennonite, that's
Yeah,
all I know. And, she had 4 kids and it's like, well, what else? And she's like, oh, it's not important. Well, it is important. It's
it
part of,
is.
part of our family. So that's what those are. Those are just fill in the blanks.
Well, I thought that that was something that, like I said, your creativity is really cool because
Oh,
these are
thanks.
things that, well, both of my parents died in the last couple
Mhm.
of years. And I knew a lot about my dad's family but only just a generation or so back.
Mhm.
But for my mom's family, not so much because nobody had anything. Everybody just
Right.
assumed that you would know, right? My dad's
Mhm.
family had big family reunions. My grandparents, my mom's parents, no. So I'm really having to work. And I was fortunate enough that a fourth cousin reached out to me on Facebook and said, "Hi, this is who I am. And we're fourth cousins on your grandma's side. And we're a lot alike. And
Aw.
we have similar features. We have similar gifts. We have similar interests. And I said, "Were you doing ancestry stuff?" She said, "My daughter was. And she found you." And she said, "Mom,
Oh,
this is you." So, it's really fun because she lives in South Alabama. So we haven't gotten together yet because of a lot of different things. She lives a pretty good ways off the interstate, and I'm not familiar with the area where she lives. But it's so cool because now I have a cousin,
that's
you know,
nice.
and this is something I think is so important because histories are being lost.
Hmm.
Yeah. My grandpa was in the military, nobody knew it. And he would talk about it, but he had Alzheimer's, so people thought he was just,
Oh,
batshit crazy, right? Just making stuff up or whatever. Well, no, he actually served in, I think, World War One. So that was World War Two. But
yeah. My uncle was that way. He was actually at Pearl Harbor. He was on. I want to say it was the Dakota, but may not be right. It was whatever the ship was that starts with a D. It didn't get hit. And when he would start talking, my dad and uncles would try and shut him up because he would just get so agitated. I didn't know it until he died. Like I would have loved to have talked to him. Well,
yeah,
I wouldn't want to agitate him, he still had, trauma from the whole thing.
well, sure he did. Oh my God, can you imagine living through that?
Hmm.
It would be hard
So,
not to.
but yeah, I just even have a 5-minute conversation with somebody who was
Yeah.
there, like, well, I wish I would have known that, but
Yeah.
I understand why they tried to shut him down. So,
Well,
yeah.
it was my grandpa had Alzheimer's. So when he would start talking about it, he would get shut down. Not
Mhm.
because, you know, not because he was agitated, but because my aunt thought that he was just making it up.
Oh,
And so when I found out that it was true, I was just kind of like, how bad do you feel now? The one that did that, I'm just like, how bad do you feel now? Really? So,
yeah.
but
Our families are
anyways,
interesting. Yeah.
they are. I'm going to get that because I didn't realize what it was. And
I
that's
think it's actually unpublished right now. So I have to go back and
oh,
fix some things. I'll publish it again.
okay. Well, I would appreciate that. And
Sure.
I will promote that too, even more because I do think that's important. Yeah, we have people growing up with no family histories because we have the blended families and we have people that are losing their memories through
Hmm.
through illness and age. And I think it's important because with ancestry.com you can find certain things, and there's a bunch of different ones.
Yeah.
And one of my friends uses another one to verify her family tree. And because the people that are drawn to her, she owns a location, and the people that are drawn to that location and come to do things are all in her family tree. The people that
Oh.
are seriously, dedicatedly drawn to this
Hmm.
location. And it's so weird. I'm in her family tree. Didn't know
That's
I had any
nice.
family up there. And she lives in, her location is in Paulding, Ohio. When I go there, I go through Indianapolis and then cut over, and I go through Muncie, which is where my grandpa's sister lived.
I was just
So
there like
I
2
know,
weeks
right?
ago.
You were just up there.
I was in Muncie. We stopped there. It's like,
So,
that's so
there's all
cool.
kinds of weird, kismet things that are out there, and people are missing that, and you're giving a way for people to be able to get that.
Well, one of
So,
the next books I want to work on, I don't want to give away too much. I think I alluded to you one time. My dad worked with another man, and the other man was a little bit older. He was in World War II. My dad was in Korean War. My mom and the other man's wife were both pregnant at the same time. And so my friend Sarah was born, I think, 12 days before I was.
mm-hmm.
And so we were like forced best friends, because we, parents were friends. So we had to go play Barbie together. And then when my dad left us, I didn't see her from like age 8 to age 50 or something, or maybe age 10 or something. But we reconnected, and it's so weird how our lives have paralleled. We lived within 10 miles of each other all this time. She would move and I would move. I would move and she would move. And we both have UFO experiences because we just started talking about them on a road trip once. And I'm like, okay, that's just too weird that,
Maybe not so much.
Well, then we were trying to figure out where did our dads work together. And so she named off all the places where her dad worked. Like, nope, my dad worked at blah, 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 blah. So they never worked together, but they were both in the Army together. So now I've got all these crazy theories going around in my head. So
maybe not so crazy.
Yeah, I'm not thinking they are. Because I've talked to a few UFO people, and there were some other people like Katie Page, who's like head of MUFON in Colorado, who has read a lot of files and stuff. And I want to contact her and say, hey, have you heard about this?
And she's very approachable.
I love her to death. We were going to go on a summer hiatus and dig for rocks one year.
She'd be perfect to do that with.
Yeah, we were going to sneak over to Skinwalker Ranch and dig up rocks. What was this?
That'd be fun.
It would be, but hijinks happened, and I had to work for a living.
Learned a lot.
Rats. Yeah. But after I win the lottery tonight, or after I win the Faces of Horror,
which we need to talk about because we only have half an hour and we need to make sure we get it in here.
Tonight and tomorrow are the last 2 days to vote. And then I think they cut off the top 10 or something. You get to be in a horror movie or something, or you go on an expedition with somebody. But there's $13,000 in cash. And I would use that to try and help promote the field somehow. Yes. I don't know how. But I think that's what my little voice is telling me. We need to do this. I'm like, okay.
Well, you pretty much do.
I started listening to my little voice when I got laid off in 21. And that's been my saving grace, I think. It's told me to do some of the strangest things.
What's the weirdest?
Okay. Moving to this town. It's like I don't know anybody. I have no friends here. I don't go anywhere because it's a little town of less than 10,000 people. And I developed a mobility issue, so I can't physically go anywhere. So I've learned over the last 2 years, when you don't have a social circle immediately right in front of you, your social circle turns within you. And so you learn how to process all these things. And so I have been living in a liminal space for 2 years. And at first I was, didn't like this at all. Cry, boo-hoo, I want to go home. But then I thought, no, there's a reason why I'm here. And I think I'm starting to catch on to why I'm here. Can't say anymore. But, I've done all the deep, dark shadow work that it was supposed to be, and a lot of things that had trauma attached to it, I think is one of the reasons things manifested in my body. So I couldn't walk. So as I dealt with the trauma, and I started to understand more, and I'm understanding more of the paranormal stuff, how it's not all, is there anybody here that wants to talk to us, or, talking to this microphone? It's not all that. It's much deeper.
It is.
Now we're going to get into the quantum woo-woo and multidimensional, infra sounds and all that kind of stuff. But I'm learning.
Well, to me, when I first started paying attention to that, it opened up a whole different world. Mm-hmm. And it totally affected how I experience the paranormal. It's really something I think that it changes you, but it changes how the metaphysical world responds to you.
Mm-hmm. And because in the past, I'd always go, oh, you won't believe what happened. And I would tell somebody, but now I have no one here other than Toby. And he sees more than I do, I think.
I'm sure he does. He's got better vision
that. I've been noticed. The first Wednesdays of the month, I do a podcast with Greg Koss where we do double Estes sessions. So we have 3 groups of us. And I've noticed, I can watch him. Where's my door? Over here. I can see when the cat walks in over here, something in the woo-woo is about to happen. And a lot of times I'll see him walk in, and then the session we have, it sounds like we're connecting with extraterrestrials or something. Last week's was about the Watchers. I mean, everyone kept talking about the Watchers.
I love that.
So
is that what they were getting, or was that your conversation topic?
No, that's what we were getting over the like the ghost box. Oh, look who
Really?
just walked in the door. Did you see who just walked in?
I did.
So he knows. Yeah, we all each have our own sort of spirit box or ghost box or S box, and like Greg is in Illinois, I think. I'm here in Texas, and sometimes we would end up talking back and forth to each other. They would ask a question, and I would say something, and he would say something. At one time, it wasn't me, but it was another group was going, but the two ladies were actually talking to each other, and at the same time, they both said death, which was really weird because they're across the country, so there's no way they're listening to the same radio stations. Right. So there is some sort of connection out there.
Well, there is, and I think that's fun that you're doing that.
So yeah, but I wouldn't have done that if I was here or not here.
Yeah. So, well, do you think that when you said that it sounds like they're extraterrestrials, what do you mean by this? They sound like
the words that are coming over, because you get the music, and then there's like the little sounds underneath, and then there's like a third layer, and there's messages in there, and a lot of times the messages are, "We're coming, we're watching, get ready, be prepared, we're here," and it's things like that, and it sounds like that's not what a ghost. Oh, thank you. Yeah, somewhere up there, one of those states up there. But it's not something a ghost or a spirit or something would tell you. I mean, they wouldn't tell you to get ready or that they're watching, or they might say they're watching.
Well, but we're here, get ready. Why would you get ready if it was a ghost? I mean, I agree with you, and I do think that. I mean, I have covered enough ufology to not doubt that at all, and
but it's
had enough experiences in that field to not doubt that at all. So,
well, one of the things we've started doing down here, well, we have to wait till it gets cooler. So we have a limited time when we can do this, but we started doing CE5. And the first time I went, I didn't think much of it. So I have my little laser light and I'm just doing this. And
were you doing it solo?
No, there was a group of us.
Okay.
And I was just doing the light around. I was just playing. And he's like, "Stop it. You just shot the plane in the eye." And I'm like, "Oh my God, the laser goes that far?" The plane was flying over.
Like, oh yeah, you can get in trouble for that. Just so you know, they will report you. And they're amazingly accurate. It's really scary.
I know. So I put that down real quick. But the meditation was fantastic. So we're going to do another one in November, right after Halloween. So there's always like a group of us, because they live in a little country area. They have kind of 10, 15 acres or something. So there's nothing out there. And you have to wait till the flight path kind of clears from Love Field or whatever the airport is in Dallas.
Right.
Yeah, eventually it clears, and so we started the meditation. It was a great meditation. I was really into it. And I was out there and I was floating and I could see the stars and I could look around. And then I heard somebody snoring, and it was just like that moment in somewhere in time, where he looks at the penny and you go, you're sucked back.
Yeah.
I was like, dude. So
yeah. Great film, by the way. It's one of my very favorites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I only recently discovered it. So
I have the vinyl. It's Rachmaninoff. Cool.
Well, I love Christopher Reeve anyway. So that's actually my favorite movie, period. Is that true? That's true.
Yeah, so, I think I watched it 3 times in one day.
I could see that.
When it was at the theater, we just didn't get out. We just watched it over and over. Back when they didn't check,
Yeah.
So.
Well, when you started the CE5, how many times have you done that?
Twice.
Twice. Mm-hmm. So, have you gotten activity both times?
Not really. But I'm optimistic, because when I'm not there, they tell me about all the wonderful things that have happened when I'm not there.
Of course.
So it might be me. I have been known to put shields up. So I need to learn how to take them down.
It's hard. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
That.
We
I have
interviewed,
trouble with them.
I'm just shields up all the time. We interviewed John Yost when I was doing Black Lotus Live.
Mhm.
And at first, okay, I'll be honest, I thought it was a load of crap, you know, but then I could see his face and you could hear the, not really trauma, but he was disturbed when he was describing his experiences. And I knew it's real, you know, I knew he was an actor, but there's no way you could be that good of an actor. And he started telling us more and more. And yeah, I believe him now, the way he was talking about how the ships came over the tree line and they came down, they just buzzed over him.
Yeah.
He was terrified.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's terrifying.
He was disturbed. Mm-hmm.
Do you know Chase Klatsky? Have you interviewed her?
No.
She's a ufologist from way back. And she's a former host of Fate magazine. And that's how I met her. She was here doing a live feed from Sloss. And we became friends. And then, 10 years later, I'm the host of Fate magazine. And it was so funny because it was completely unrelated. It was just weird how things work out.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were, she is a ufologist and she's brilliant, but she had a lost because nobody had ever asked her. She'd never told, I finally asked her when we were talking one night, I said, have you had a lost time experience? And she said, I have. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what happened? And she was telling me, and I was just like, okay, I am not that girl. Not what I find to be my favorite thing to anticipate. But I think that I've had one too, but it was when I was young. And so I said, well, do you have an implant? She's like, not that I know of. And I said, well, what kind of craft was it? And she said, well, it was a Delta. And she was with the team. They had gone out because there were a reported sighting, and the Delta came over the field over them.
Oh, wow.
And next thing they knew, they were in the truck. So to me, that was absolutely, thank you, Diane, for voting for her. So
thank you. I love Diane, by the way.
No doubt.
I owe her a ghost. Oh, thank you. My ghost all sold out. I started sculpting too.
You need to tell people about these ghosts, because when you posted them, I was like, oh, these are so precious. I love this. And now you don't have any to show.
No, I sold them all. And then when I came back, I made another batch. Well, they're little bitty polymer glow-in-the-dark ghosts that I sculpt. I put them in a little jar and they're adopt a ghost. But you have to cook them, like in the oven. So I had them on a cookie sheet and I baked them the appropriate time. And I took them out. I didn't think anything about it. I go in my room, like around midnight, I go in the kitchen for something and they're all glowing in the dark. There's like 35 little glow in the dark ghosts. It scared the bejeebies out of me. I'm like, what the hell? So
that is so funny.
I was like, well, now you stick them next to your wine. So when you go in there for that late night glass of wine, do you really need it? If you do, just push them aside, or put them over by the cookie jar or something. People are like, oh, yeah.
The cookie jar would probably be my better thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like just push them around the corner. But they're so cute. They just glow in the dark. But I started doing all those kind of silly little knick-knacky things. And those are all the things that sold. Had little skeletons and a hot tub candles. And
I like
just fun little things. But when you're talking about missing time, I've had missing time too. I've lost 40 minutes one time.
Did you really?
Yeah. It's back when I was pregnant and I was at the doctor and I had a visit and I was going to meet my husband for lunch. And I come from TV. So everything, everything's back timed. So, I was going to get there exactly.
Right.
So I knew I was going to get to his station 15 minutes early. So I'm leaving the doctor's office. I'm driving through Houston, which is the trashiest city in the face of the earth. It's just trash everywhere. Trash, trash, trash. Yards are always, overgrown and stuff. And I was going down the street and it was 3 lanes and a huge ditch and then 3 lanes the other way. and it repeated on the other side, 3 lanes, huge ditch. So it's this huge, huge intersection, Beech Nut and Chimney Rock, if anybody knows. And so I'm coming up to the red light, and I noticed how clean it is. The concrete's clean. There's no stains on it or anything. The grass is all mowed, and there are no other cars around me. It's like, this is really weird. For a Wednesday afternoon at noon, one of the busiest intersections in Southwest Houston, and there's nobody. So I'm sitting at the red light, I'm looking up, and I see something small and silver, and it's spinning, and it's just beyond the red light. I'm like, oh my God, that's a UFO. And so I'm looking, and of course, no one is around, and I want to point it out. There's nobody there. And so I keep watching it. I'm watching the red light and watch it. And this goes on for however long the red light lasts. And then finally the light turns green. I drive through the intersection. I look up and it's gone. It's like, oh well. And as I drive like a block or two, the grass starts getting, unruly again. The streets are getting dirty again. And so I drive straight. I don't even stop. No more stops. Drive straight to my husband's station. I get there and I get out of the car. And he's like, where the hell you been? I was like, well, I went to the doctor. I made one stop, literally, and I drove straight here. So I should have been 15 minutes early. He's like, you're 40 minutes late. Where have you been? It's like, I don't know. I only stopped at that one red light. So I never thought about it until I was talking to a friend a couple of years ago. And he goes, Vic, get this right. You saw a UFO, you were pregnant, and you lost 40 minutes. Let's put it together.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I never even thought about that, but I don't remember anything other than stopping at the red light and then going forward. But it was just weird how even the grease stains on the street were gone. It was like perfectly clean.
That's almost like a time travel. Hello, April. We have April in chat. So,
oops.
I haven't seen her in a hot minute. I'm glad to see her now. But, have you had, with all of your health issues, have you had testing where you had like any kind of scans or anything? Have you checked for implants? Did you check for any marks or anything?
I'm claustrophobic, so I can't get any sort of MRI. I did go through a windshield once, and so I do have a lot of glass and stuff in my head. So, whatever that is. But my friend that I was telling you that we were just 12 days apart has some sort of implant in her hand, and you can feel it, you can see it. It's almost, it's kind of like chevron shape, but more pointed. And she doesn't know where it came from. She never fell on anything. And it's like, well, why don't you get it removed? She's like, it didn't bother me.
Yeah. Well, sometimes they're very difficult to remove. Mm-hmm. They fight back. So that's a friend of mine who produces for a major show said that they were at a procedure where they were taking an implant out of someone's face that was, and it kept running from the scalpel.
Oh my gosh.
And so, yeah, but the person that it belonged, the person that was in was adamant that it had to come out. Mm-hmm. And I have, and we have Joanna from Canada has joined us, and Johanna from New Zealand said there's a neurosurgeon in Albuquerque that knows about implants. I would venture to say there's a lot of, based on what I have found with the UFO conferences that I've gone to, and I've been allowed to sit in groups that I should be part of, but because I'm media, I tend not to go into because people are intimidated, because I don't want to talk in front of somebody that does this. But it always amazes me the number of people who have had lost time, come back. They have some sort of health issue. They're being tested and they find implants in different areas of the body. And, it's Whitley Strieber, the man who wrote Communion, for those who don't know him, is a lifelong experiencer. And he has one in his ear. And I asked once if he was, I said, if he had that taken out. He was like, I'm not going to have it taken out because we communicate.
Oh,
And I was like, wow, okay.
okay.
So, I mean, he's very open about it. It's not like it's a secret, but it's interesting to me. People seem to become attached to them almost.
Hmm. Like it's part of them.
Hmm.
Yeah. There was
So,
one of our guests we had on Edge of the Rabbit Hole was a hypnotist, and she did past life regressions and stuff. And
okay.
she was very kind, and she goes, if you ever want to get regressed, let me know. I'm like, okay, I'll call you later. So we did a past life regression, and she asked me if there were any questions I ever wanted to know the answers to. And so I told her that little story, and it's like, and I've seen things when I was 2. I remember seeing strange people in my bedroom.
Right.
So I asked her, like, are they following me? Or do they check on me, or is it just all a coincidence? So we did the regression, and the information we got was that they do follow you. And so I asked, well, why are they following me? I mean, what can I do? And they're like, well, they like you, so they're just keeping their eye on you. So I'm like, okay. Thank goodness for that. I'm glad they like me.
Better than the alternative. I mean,
I know.
seriously. And
like, okay.
This is interesting because Johanna said that she spent lots of time with Lee Sprinkle
Mm-hmm.
To figure her contacts out. And we just lost him like not long ago at all. So,
Yeah.
Very fortunate for you, Joanna, to have been able to experience him. I would have loved to get a chance to talk to him.
I think that's who Katie Page. She has some of his documents that she's been going through. I'm like, okay, I want to talk to her. So,
but and Philippa said that she had posted, 2020, but hers was in 2000. So
I think we're seeing them more. Yeah.
Well, they're not hiding, and I don't know whether to find that comforting or alarming, right? Because they're becoming very bold and they don't care.
There was, I can't remember where I read it, but it was an interview with someone, and we were interviewing, my God, what's his name? Jeremy, somebody or another. He was on Ancient Aliens. Jeremy York, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It was a couple of years ago. But we were talking about that the extraterrestrials have given us a back wall date. And they said, if you don't come forward by this time, we're just going to show up and say, hey, babe.
Yeah.
How you doing? But according to astrology, the end of 2026 going into 2027 is when our government will actually admit, yes, okay, there are extraterrestrial lives. And then somewhere around 2032 is when we're actually going to make first contact. So,
well, to me, that's fascinating because they've already, and Johanna said that Yvonne Smith is who helped with her hypnosis, with her regression with that. Yvonne is one of my favorite human beings. We've been spoons together when we get in places together. So
nice.
she's, oh, please. I didn't even know I could do that. And April is here, and she said she has a recent experience with a possible alien entity, but she hasn't talked about it except to her husband because she doesn't know if it's what she thought. And a lot of people are confused because they present, and then there's so many possibilities in the spirit realm that they start questioning themselves. But I was leaving Contact in the Desert that morning when they were reporting that, because I was there when they were doing the conference, the congressional hearings. And so I come downstairs and Cheryl Costa is like, did you hear about the hearings? And I'm like, what? She's like, we have non-biologic remains, non-human biologics. And I'm like, what? I saw something as I was packing, but I was packing, trying to get out the door, and I'm, you know, what? So I pull it up and I'm reading. I'm like, I'm in the air all day today. I'm not going to be able to keep up with anything. And I almost had planned to stay until Tuesday so I could do the
Mhm.
breakout sessions and stuff. And I did not schedule it. I was flying out that morning and I had to get back into
Aw.
LA. And I'm like, no way. No way.
They
So
planned
all
it.
the way home, I'm sitting there like, thank God I have Wi-Fi, So, but it was so interesting. And so, pretty much their hand has been forced and they're releasing
Mhm.
as much as they think that we can handle or as much as they want to admit to.
True.
And,
Yeah.
you know, I've been to other conferences and the pilots are always like, well, you know, it's um it's always there.
Mhm.
And we can't always see. We're gonna run it. We have to do a UFO show. Will you come back for a
Okay.
UFO show?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I have lots of stories.
Well, and there's so much happening.
There is.
It's fascinating to me. And it's to me it's overwhelming almost because
Mhm.
there's I've been listening to people for 10 years talk about their experiences with this and their this with that, and you have too. And when the government starts confirming it, you know, it's getting real.
Yeah, it's nice
They
to
wouldn't
finally have that validation.
they
Yeah,
wouldn't be validating if they didn't have to.
true.
So there's stuff coming. There's a lot coming, I think.
There is.
So, but
Just got to make
well,
it to 2032.
I'm all about that. I'm going to try my best to stick around. And if I'm not, I'll still be here in spirit. So,
There you
but
go.
I'll already have the answers.
That's true. Yeah.
So, because I plan to visit a lot of cool places. So, I'm so glad you came on tonight. Thank you so
Oh, well,
much.
thank you. Thank you
I
for
just,
having me.
I enjoy you so much.
Oh, you're so
And,
sweet.
well, not always, but I like you. So, I'm kidding.
I love you.
Yes. So, when you come back, we're going to, just don't build structures in my living room.
Yeah, there's my alien guy over there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Well, this is Al Leon, and my husband brought him for me like years and years ago. And he is always, I mean, even when I wasn't on video, he's always in my office. So it's,
He's from the 50th anniversary of the alleged crash in Roswell.
cool.
So he's old. He's old.
Yeah.
He's kind of leaning over.
Yeah. It's been a tough life.
I used to drive around with my convertible and I'd strap him in and his head would be going around. An alien over there. What the heck?
Yeah.
I live in the desert.
Oh, hi, Kelly. So, for everyone listening, we sure do appreciate you. We've had a good time with you, and the questions have been fantastic. And and yes, there are small grays. They are like considered almost like droids, like Android. But there's some question over whether they're biologics or not. So that's part of the puzzle too, April. But we will do a show relevant to that. I cover a lot of that on Fate. But in fact, I have Brian Bowman with me this week on Fate Magazine Radio Sunday night, same time, same cat channel. So, and that will be paranormal as a rule. So, but we will put together a show and we will advertise it as such so that you'll know that we're going to be bringing some ufology fun. So, woo. But be sure that you check out Morgan Echoes on Amazon Kindle so that you can get a little Bigfoot esoterica in your life.
Watch out for chapter 21.
I'm going to be checking it out. So, but how will a man ever compare? So, I don't know. We'll find out though. So, anyway,
he likes camping.
Thank you so much. I am
Thank
looking
you.
forward to the next time. And Dana, thank you. So, everybody in chat, y'all come back next time. See you later.